Welcome everybody to the Social Dig, home of the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and like always, we'll be digging into the topics to keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. So come on in, get comfortable, pour an ice cold beverage, and get ready to join the conversation. We're going to go ahead and get this thing going. You know, I'm bringing in the guy that engineered the Social Dig, the one, the only, Mr. Mateo. How you doing there, sir?
Good to see you, Rob. Glad to be here. How you doing?
Hey, happy Alien Day, man.
Happy Alien Day. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm
Happy Alien Day
representing
to
tonight.
all.
The home team is on the ropes, down 3-1, fighting for their life up in Boston, but we're leading 2-1 after second period. So, little
And who's that? That's the
hockey
Boston
NHL.
Bruins, right?
Yeah, the Bruins, the Florida Panthers, my team against the Boston Bruins, my old home team, since I'm a native New Englander, as you know. So yeah, we're fighting for our life in the NHL playoffs. Dave Scott of Spaced Out Radio will be proud to know that I'm a hockey fan like him.
That's
We all know
right.
he's
That's
a
right.
big Oilers fan. So no, all is good. Yeah, man, happy Alien Day. It's good to be here. Good Hump Day Wednesday. Yeah, not too many people probably know all about Alien Day, so you're going to fill them in.
No,
for sure.
I mean, you would think just by Alien Day that it encompasses all aliens when really there's a history to it. And we'll kind of jump into that. And we're actually going to make it all encompassing though today. So we'll dive into the history of Alien Day, why it was created, and then we'll put our little spin on it. So what we can do, and actually here we go, happy Alien Day to everybody out there. If you notice in the upper right corner, that gives you a hint to where this all comes from.
Which alien it applies to.
Exactly. So what we'll do is this show today isn't going to be too long. So we're going to this is actually a special. So we'll get in, we'll get out, and then we'll jump into the disclosure news. All right, so this week in Disclosure News, we have a few stories here. I have one, actually, there was a article, there's been Danny Sheehan has been in the news lately, speaking up on what he thought about the Arrow situation, and also kind of went a little further talking about some whistleblowers here. So let me go ahead and get into the story. This story was written by Josh Boswell for the dailymail.com. And he states the title here is 6 Whistleblowers Who Claim They Worked on Military UFO Programs, Retrieving and Analyzing Crash Material, have come forward to spill their secrets to senior members of the Congress. So lawyer Daniel Sheehan said he is in contact with at least 6 former government officials or military contractors who say they worked on UFO programs.
Wow.
The whistleblowers claim they worked on Roswell-style UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs and have spoken to members of Congress. And then the third point of the article is going to be that the attorney is launching a watchdog charity pushing for greater government transparency on UFOs. Before I jump into it, Mateo, you have any opinions on just the title and where we're going with it?
I love this, dude. You know me. I would have given my right arm to be part of an alien crash retrieval reverse engineering program. That's what I'm here for, man. Bring it on. I would absolutely love this. So this is great. We've heard rumblings of this, right? From Ross Coulthart. We've heard it from Tim Burchett. We've heard it from Jeremy Corbell, and George Knapp. We've heard that whistleblowers are talking to Congress behind closed doors, of course. So this corroborates that claim, right? And man, if this is true, that's confirmation right there. You can't have crash retrievals and reverse engineering unless there was a crash, right? So
Right.
this is big in my opinion, and I'm eager to hear more.
And then you wonder, Daniel Sheehan is the attorney who represents Lou Elizondo.
Lou.
So it's always intriguing to hear when he has something to say.
Mm-hmm.
You always hope that the next thing he's going to say is just spilling his guts on what Lou has confided in him about. But we know that's lawyer client privileged information,
Mm-hmm.
so we won't get that. But as the article goes, it says the senior members of Congress have spoken to as many as 6 whistleblowers who claim they worked on Roswell-style UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs, according to a top attorney, a leading Stanford scientist, and ex-UFO program officials. For decades, it has been the subject of spooky TV shows and sci-fi novels, the theory that the government has alien spacecraft in a bunker somewhere and has been trying to disassemble and understand their technology. But things got a lot more real after Congress passed a law last year creating whistleblower protections for anyone who has worked in such mind-boggling secret programs, suggesting they may be more than just fiction. The 2023 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, signed into law by President Joe Biden in December, included an amendment requiring the Pentagon to have high-ranking senators classify reports on any previously undisclosed programs relating to unidentified anomalous phenomena, including with respect to material retrieval, material analysis, reverse engineering. In an exclusive interview with DailyMail.com, Daniel Sheehan said he is in contact with at least 6 former government officials or military contractors who say they worked on just such a program. Sheehan represents Lou Elizondo, who ran a previous incarnation of the UFO office called ATIP until 2017. The attorney is also launching a watchdog charity pushing for greater government transparency on UFOs. Sheehan said some of these half dozen whistleblowers briefed the staff of Senate committees dealing with military intelligence even before the NDAA passed, and may have even been the inspiration for senators to include the reverse engineering language. There are a half dozen of them that have already gone and talked to them, he said. The Senate staff people were reaching out to some others. Sheehan says witnesses who allegedly know about Roswell style programs, including a former Defense Intelligence Agency director, have been referred for interviews with the Pentagon's UFO office, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW. A top Stanford scientist says he is also in touch with whistleblowers. Immunologist and Nobel Prize nominee Dr. Gary Nolan was commissioned by the CIA to investigate cases of the mysterious Havana syndrome inflicting embassy officials worldwide, and has conducted experiments analyzing material allegedly jettisoned in UFO flyovers. He claims to be in contact with several former staffers of extraordinary UFO reverse engineering programs. It says Sheehan represents Lou Elizondo, who ran the previous incarnation of the UFO office called ATIP. In 2017, he quit the office, citing his resignation letter, the failure by the DoD to take seriously incursions on U.S. airspace by identified objects. So Daniel Sheehan in the mix, in the middle of things, like right where I like to see him. You know, you haven't heard much from him lately, but it's good to see that he's right there and keeping his pulse on what's going on. I actually have, and you can give your opinion on that, but I actually have a clip that I'll play right afterwards.
No, go ahead, man. I just wanted to say too, and you brought it up here. I neglected to mention Dr. Gary Nolan, who also has been continually stating that he's been talking with whistleblowers who he knows are going to come out this year. So I'm happy to see that Danny Sheehan cited him as well. But go ahead with the clips.
All right. So this is the first clip here.
But as you know, we now have the New York Times. As of December 16th and 17th of 2017, front page story, above the fold, as they say in the New York Times, acknowledging the existence of UFOs as a real phenomenon, that they're not swamp gas, they're not birds mistaken for something else. And the bottom line is they've now solicited a report that's come out of the Defense Department that has gone to Congress that actually states that it's clear, they've looked into this, and it is clear that these are vehicles. These are vehicles that travel up to 20,000 miles an hour in our own atmosphere without any friction. And that they can, in fact, turn on a complete 90-degree turn, going 20,000 miles an hour, and come out of the turn going just as fast. They can come down from over 80,000 feet from space down to the very surface of our oceans in 0.7 of 1 second and stop dead like that, generating 600 Gs of force that would tear apart any vehicle and would turn to soup any occupants in the vehicle. And yet they just come to a stop and they go beneath the ocean and they travel at over 100 miles an hour underwater. And they're coming and going and coming and going. And there's a place right off Baja, between Baja and Guadalupe Island, which is due west of Baja, about 25 miles. There's a site there where these are sighted every day. And the United States military has based a carrier group there, monitoring the coming and going of these craft. And they have actually got submarines underneath the carrier group that monitors them on radar, tracking where they're going and how fast they're going. And so that we have come to a point where not only is that all going on, but as you know, with the launching of the James Webb Telescope, we now have the James Webb Telescope, which is able to basically, in effect, photograph the surfaces of the exoplanets.
All right, so that was a little clip. It was a very long presentation that actually Daniel Sheehan took part in this. I found this here on Twitter. So what do you have to think? What did you think about what he just said here?
This is revealing. I liked his what he was getting to about James Webb toward the end there. I'm a big fan of that. And yeah, there's that obviously is looking for life as well. But no, I don't think he would come out and have stated what he stated unless it was for real. He can't afford to obviously make up stories for obvious reasons, given whom he represents and the fact that he's an attorney. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said before. I think I'm just glad that he's out there talking. I mean, he kind of rambled a little bit, I'll say, on some of the things, but he did make a lot of good points. And just the fact that his face is out there is enough for me. But I love this comment or the comment that he made in the article on Arrow, and just being thinking that they should be held accountable with the information that they actually do provide to the public.
Absolutely.
I do have actually something from James Fox too. I think this is where he kind of elaborates on the whole Senate hearing as well. Let me bring this up.
I got introduced some intelligence folks on the inside, and they wanted me to read this to your audience. Okay. And this is about evidence.
Okay.
So, and this was in pretty much a reaction to the latest hearing that happened with Gillibrand just a couple of days ago or last week. I will remain anonymous, but I've been monitoring the UFO, and I met this guy. I know this guy. This guy's legit. The UFO, UAP activity, and the authorities' response to them. I can assure you there's a lot more evidence behind the curtain that hasn't been released. First, our military are and have been seeing remarkable things in the sky, in the oceans, and on the land for years. Of those reported, where does all this information get stored? Authorities would have you believe that this data is destroyed, but unique data is stored somewhere to be reviewed later. And as someone that is seeing the classified holdings, I am very disappointed in the fact that Dr. Kirkpatrick showed some of the most mundane videos to the public. I do understand that there are security factors to be considered, so I'm hoping that Senator Gillibrand saw something much more interesting in her closed-door hearing with Kirkpatrick. And why did only 2 senators show up for the hearing? Have they lost faith in Kirkpatrick already? I applaud Senator Gillibrand's efforts to find the truth, but I am more sure than ever that Kirkpatrick is not the one.
Interesting. So he's withholding some information.
Yeah, these people went on camera for me. It's going to be released when the time is right. But I've got,
Again, it's one of those things conveniently, like Lucy pulling the ball away from Charlie Brown.
It's
Right when you get-
it's so frustrating.
I can only imagine.
And how so funny that he says that when our guy Tom King said,
You
almost
remembered.
exactly the
I was
same
just
thing
thinking
other
the
day.
same thing. Tom King.
King.
He's in the audience. He talked about the ball and the football, Lucy from Charlie Brown.
Yeah. So okay, that was
Joe Rogan's listening, Tom.
Forward
Joe
thinking,
Rogan's
forward
listening.
thinking, sir.
No,
Okay.
Joe Rogan's
Now I
paying
did.
attention.
Now, also there was a clip that I saw, and it kind of took me, kind of hit me a little bit. It was James Fox. He got a little emotional when talking about his involvement with some of these experiencers and the fact that you have a Kirkpatrick up there that kind of just thumbs his nose up at the possibility of there being things here, and kind of wanted to just play that just because it had a good little emotional feel to it. So here we go.
You are so good at recall with all this stuff. You can really tell that you've been obsessed with this for so long. It's so fascinating to watch your mind like go through these cases and remember all these details with barely even looking at notes. It's all just
every time I get up and I do something like this, Joe, I'm representing all the witnesses that have trusted me. Sorry. I'm representing them. Here, Dr. Patrick. Say what he said. It's a personal assault.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, he's just dismissive. When I hear the government dismissive this whole thing, I'm thinking to myself, I take it personally. Because when I'm out there talking to people like you on these platforms, I'm sorry, it's just tense for me. It's like I represent these witnesses. When I'm a voice for them, I come out here and I represent them and they trust me. And that means a lot to me. So sorry.
No, listen,
It's
man,
just like
you're passionate about this. It means something to you, and that's one of the reasons why real to talk about documenting those documents and Jeremy Corbell's and a few of the other ones that are out there. When I heard about the Virginia, I remember thinking, "Oh, come on, people lie."
Yeah.
I always think that. I always think, people, because they do. Some people like to lie.
yeah, no question.
But that's not that simple. That one's very complicated. And again, that man who goes to the spot where he saw that 25 years ago and he starts crying, and Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So with that being said, I just picked that up because you have people like that put their heart into, getting or bringing forward the truth when it comes to disclosure, and at every turn, that's a sign of the stigma that's out there and how the stigma can affect a person. I mean, he's doing a genuine thing in trying to bring disclosure, and you have someone like Kirkpatrick who sits there and cuts him below the knees, cuts everything he's done, and doesn't give it lend it any sort of credibility. What do you think about that, Mattel?
I totally feel him, and I agree with what you said, but I'm going to say something in Sean Kirkpatrick's defense, not to say that what James Fox there expressed was at all incorrect or inaccurate. Sean Kirkpatrick has put blinders on, and he has narrowed, probably for self-survival purposes, he has narrowed his focus of AARO to be exactly the mission that was mapped out for AARO, which is anomalous, aerial anomalous phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, right? UAP, what have you, UFO, what have you. And it's current. He is charged with doing that historical report by the middle of next year. That's a separate deal. But he's focused on current reports, be them from the military or wherever, and he's got those 650 and he needs to work on those. That's it. Now, he's not paying any mind, giving any credence, giving any acknowledgement or recognition to any of the hugely, gigantically important historical cases that you and I talk about all day, every day, and that get talked about in our community all the time. And it is hurtful because, as Dave Scott would say, the experiencers are not being represented here, and therein lies the crime, because these people are not being represented, and their lives have been dramatically impacted in a not so pleasant way. So where is their confirmation? Where is their vindication? It's not going to come from AARO. So I think all of us are expecting too much out of AARO. We're not going to get, James Fox included. And I think I can't hold that against Sean Kirkpatrick because he's been given a job and that's what he's going to do, because otherwise, if he ends up off on all of the tangents, he won't get anything done. And it's sad but true. That's my take.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I think it's but like I said on the other show, I feel like Kirkpatrick could still do his job and still put his blinders on and still focus without undercutting the entire disclosure movement by saying things like, this is not ET related. It's Condon 2.0. And if you let something like that ride, then you're
Very good.
essentially riding with the narrative that's been given the entire time. And that's what we have to stop. So for Condon, for Kirkpatrick, it might as well be. So for Kirkpatrick to sit there and just do that, I mean, it was an intentional thing that he did by saying
he did. He didn't have to say that. Now he's saying that based upon the evidence that he's collected thus far, which is like this, right? And he's very narrow in his scope. He's not looking at any of the other stuff that we all know and love, which is, therein lies a big problem, right? So I'm not sure if the office was born for the purpose that it now has. That's one of the questions I have. And I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, so getting on from that, let's go ahead and get out of the news and get into Alien Day and go ahead and see what that's actually all about. All right, so Alien Day, and let me go ahead and bring this up here in a full screen layout if we can. All right, so Alien Day. Alien Day was created, just so everyone knows, by sci-fi subculture of people who wanted to honor not only the Alien film series, which is epic. The first unofficial Alien Day was celebrated in the spring of 2015 by a group of folks in Brooklyn, New York. in 2016, Alien Day commenced as a more official celebration when the maker of the Alien movies, 20th Century Fox, got involved with sponsoring events for the day. 2016 was a particularly important year because it was timed to coincide with the 30th anniversary of the release of the Alien sequel, which is called Aliens. However, rather than taking place on the exact day of Aliens' anniversary, the choice of the date itself actually holds meaning. So, April 26th, which today be 4/26, refers to the designation of the moon in the first Alien film, which was LV 426. So if I can get that up there you go. So where the xenomorphs are discovered in the 1979 film by Ridley Scott. So a little information about LV 426. According to the lore, LV 426, or commonly known as Acheron, is a moon orbiting the ring planet of Calpamos in the binary star system Zeta Reticuli, 37 light years from Sol. It's notable for being home to a colony of xenomorphs, one of the most dangerous parasitic life forms in the universe. The xenomorph eggs are located in a large room in or beneath a crash space jockey derelict ship. Now, anyone who is, let's say, on the lower side of your 20s, late 20s, 30s, you may not even know the lore behind the film. So let me bring up some things that I found. If you go hashtag Alien Day 2023 on Twitter, they have some things that you can actually look at and partake in to get more of the history on this. So let me share just a couple things that they're showing out there on Twitter.
I didn't know this, Tom.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, Robin. I'm not in my late 20s. I wish I was, but yeah, I didn't know the basis of the whole number. That's interesting.
Well, as far as fans of the series, well, yeah, I guess you'd have to be a fan of the series, which I am. I've been since
Not
the
the
first
series. I
one.
was
I was
watching the
introduced
movies.
by my parents. Yeah,
Mhm.
when I mean series, I mean the series of movies that have come
Series of
out.
movies, yeah.
Yeah, so you had the original Alien in 1979, and then I caught that on, if anyone remembers, Betamax. And then by the time Aliens came out,
Mhm.
part 2 is actually when we caught that in the movie theaters. But this is what they're doing out there on Twitter. So you have cabbage, which they have shaped like the xenomorph eggs. If you're familiar with the series, with the franchise, then you'll know that
Oh yeah.
this
Looks
actually
just like them.
represents what they show there. Now let me
That's a strange
see
cabbage.
if I can move this. Okay, yeah, there we go. My Twitter is definitely misbehaving. It's lacky.
Mm.
Let's see. Oh, so we must. If you know anything about that, you know what's about to happen. Yeah.
Mhm.
They call those face suckers for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, we remember well. That movie
But
scared the crap out
they
of me.
look exactly like that. And yeah, this was a pretty hairy scene too. And when they went in, she had the little girl, and they went in there and discovered all the eggs. They had to tiptoe through there pretty quietly. I mean, you guys, if you haven't seen anything in the Aliens series, I definitely recommend. Earlier, and they had a lot more going on here, but I don't really see. Let me just back out of that. get back here to okay. I'll do my internet with that because it always lags on the stream. Let me get this back in here. Okay. All right. So we got a little background on Alien and the reason why Alien Day is a thing. It's basically in to line up with the Alien series. It still goes on to this day. They had the Alien vs Predator. I know they have some new Alien stuff coming out. I actually partake in. There's a video game that I'm still haven't finished, and I vow to finish called Alien Isolation, and it pretty much mimics everything that happened after the first Alien movie. So something that I'm really into the Alien franchise, but let me get to where we're going next. Okay. So the way I wanted to kind of spend this today is instead of just focusing on the Alien franchise and xenomorphs, I wanted to expand this out and make this Alien Day about aliens in general. So we know there's all sorts of alien species out there. We know there's different movies that portray aliens in certain lights and aspects, and we kind of wanted to ask the question that because we'll be looking at both good and bad space invaders portrayed in TV and film. Take a look at some real life encounters and descriptions on the alien presence. So, do what you see on these movies, do they shape or have they shaped mankind's view of what alien intent might be? And that's kind of what we'll be looking at here. So, let me
Great topic.
get the first one up here. And it's going to be kind of fun, actually. We're going to go into some of the benevolent ETs as it shows here. First one up is going to be ET the Extraterrestrial. So please tell me you've seen ET the Extraterrestrial. If not, let me give you the synopsis real quick and we'll discuss it here. So for those who don't know, E.T. the Extraterrestrial is a 1982 film directed by Steven Spielberg. The story revolves around a young boy named Elliot who befriends an extraterrestrial being that he finds hiding in his backyard. The creature, whom Elliot calls E.T., has been left behind on Earth and is trying to find a way back to his home planet. Elliot and his siblings help E.T. evade the authorities, or the Men in Black, and build a device to help him, quote, phone home and contact his people. As they work together to protect E.T. and help him return home, the children form a close bond with the friendly alien. This film is a heartwarming tale of friendship and adventure, and you would hope would be one of the encounters that we would have with one of these guys once we actually meet them. What do you think about them? Mateo, what do you think about the movie? I know you have a lot to say about it.
Oh, I watched that movie. That was obviously a fanciful movie, but we all enjoyed it. I rode the ride, the ET ride at Disney World in Orlando. I think they closed it down, but it was cool. You got to ride on the bikes and carry the alien around and go up in the air. It was a cool ride. But
yeah.
Yeah, they probably have it at Disneyland in LA too. But anyhow, it was cool, and I just thought it was, the movie was obviously it portrayed the aliens as benevolent and they needing our help, and that very well could be the case. But no, it was a great Spielberg creation. I'm a big fan of Spielberg and all of his creations, as you're going to refer to. But yeah, this was a great movie.
Yeah, this was a scene where they were getting away from the Men in Black, the powers that be, and trying to help E.T. get back home. So definitely was a great movie, and I would recommend going back and watching it, especially watch it with the young ones, the kids, if they haven't seen it. Keep them back in the loop and in with the history of E.T.
Oh,
Next.
correction. I rode the ride at Universal Studios, not Disney. My
That's
apologies.
Universal.
Universal.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Getting my theme
And
parks mixed up.
we have this is this guy right here, the next guy. He's one of the most lovable. Yeah, you thought E.T. was benevolent and just one of the most lovable guys you could ever know. We're gonna get into my guy Alf.
Oh.
Alf. Okay, which stands for alien life form. This guy, this is the guy you want to hang out with. This is that guy. This is the alien that you meet. And it's like, man, this guy is awesome. I
You
wanted to be
didn't.
my friend. But if you notice, he has a little friend in his drink. So
Mhm.
he had a thing for eating cats. So that was his thing. He did everything else the humans do, but he would occasionally look for a cat. So you had to watch a cat and make sure everything was copacetic. Alf was that guy. And they actually had action figures made where look, he has a cat between pieces of bread. What do you remember about Alf, Mattel?
That much. I did not partake of Alf at all. And you may hold it against me. I'm being totally honest with you. I did not watch a single episode of Alf.
Whoa.
Shame on me, right? I apologize. Yeah, don't be mad at me, Rob.
The Alf gods will be angry.
I know they're gonna be angry with me. I did not watch Alf at all. I thought, I wasn't sure what to take of it. I mean, I guess I was still in my more serious UFO days, where I was like,
oh, you're
ready
looking
to
at
go
that,
to war.
like, yeah, okay.
I was like, oh man, what is this Alf thing? This is goofy.
I got it. So Magneticus has a great idea. He said, dude, watch the reruns.
I know I should, but
they're free right now.
Yeah, no, so I apologize, but no, keep going, man. Alf was pop culture, man. Everybody loved Alf,
right?
Except obviously for me, but that's because
well, I mean, when you talk about good guys, if you have to put a list of alien good guys portrayed in film and TV, he's on the list.
He's on the list. He's a good alien. No, definitely.
Moving on to the next, we have the Greys from
Close
Encounters of the Third Kind.
My other favorite Spielberg creation.
So these guys, and we featured this on Science Fiction Science Fact Movie Edition as a must watch, a must rewatch. The Greys in this movie were totally cool. I mean, they were down they were down with humanity, and actually, I'll give you a synopsis of for the Greys here on Close Encounters. So, in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the aliens are portrayed as peaceful and benevolent beings who have come to Earth with the message of peace and goodwill towards humans. They are depicted as having advanced technology and a higher understanding of the universe, and they communicate with humans in a non-threatening, peaceful manner. The aliens in the movie do not display any signs of aggression or hostility towards humans, and their actions and behavior suggest that they are indeed benevolent. They are portrayed as seeking a peaceful and cooperative relationship with humans, rather than seeking to harm or dominate them. And they showed that. You remember this scene in Close Encounters? This is the Grey. And if you want to talk about Greys, this is gonna be a kind, caring version of a Grey who is here for the benefit of humanity and to show us the right way. They actually even took Dreyfus. They took Dreyfus aboard the ship at the end. A lot of the guys came out, and it was great. Great scene. Great. I hope that this is the way that it goes. What do you remember from this movie?
This movie, you're going to be equally as disturbed with my answer as you were with my Alf answer. I probably have watched this movie 50 times, if not more. I am in love with this movie. I loved every aspect of it. I thought Richard Dreyfuss and all the cast, it was absolutely perfect. The guy who played Jacques Vallée, the French guy, the
Yep.
whole thing was just, even J. Allen Hynek was in there doing his cameo at the very end, right? This was a phenomenal movie, and there's a lot of controversy about whether or not Spielberg got some influence from the government and some input from the government. This may not be so far from reality. So no, the Greys in this movie, the whole point of the movie, what the meetup, the giving back of the people who had been abducted years before, right? The Flight 19 out of Fort Lauderdale here, right, with the planes that got lost in the Bermuda Triangle and all of that. There was a tall gray in this movie too. Remember, he first came out, and then the little grays came out later, and just what a great feel good movie, right? I just absolutely loved every aspect of it, and that's why I watched it so many times.
If you look at their fingers still look a little creepy, even though they were
Mhm.
here for our benefit and they were so nice and kind of gentle. Those hands look kind of gnarly. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie.
Yeah,
But
and
with that being said, I mean, there's a flip side, and the reason why I even wanted to look at this way is because a lot of the people out there that I've seen want ETs to have this sort of behavior. They assume and it's assuming they assume that they are here for benevolent purposes, and I hope that they are. But then there's also a flip side to the coin, according to movie and film and TV. So getting into malevolent ETs, movies that kind of portray this, you would be looking at something like The Greys in Dark Skies. So we went from the Greys, the benevolent Greys in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, peaceful. They want to take you aboard the ship. They want to, smile and have all these great times. Then you have the Greys portrayed in Dark Skies. Now, Dark Skies, in this movie, actually, in the movie Dark Skies, released in 2013, the Greys are depicted as malevolent and intent on abducting humans for their own purposes. The story revolves around a suburban family that experiences a series of disturbing and terrifying events, which they eventually realize are the result of an alien encounter. The aliens in Dark Skies are portrayed as aggressive and invasive, targeting the family members in a coordinated effort to abduct and experiment on them. The film explores themes of alien abduction, mind control, and the fear of the unknown, as is known for its suspenseful and chilling moments. While the nature of the aliens in the movie is never fully explained, their actions and behavior suggest that they are indeed malevolent and pose a threat to humanity. So, Mateo, I know we talked about this movie a few different times. Have you gotten a
Mhm.
chance to watch it recently? Do you
Mhm.
recall the things that took place?
Oh yeah, I think we had this. You had this as one of your science fiction to science fact
Yes,
movies
sir.
at one point, and no, this was an. I really liked this movie on the rewatch, and yes, it was terrifying. I have to give credit to the guy J.K. Simmons, who was the farmer insurance guy who does the commercials. He was outstanding in this movie as the expert counseling the parents. And then here was the other thing I liked about this movie: the parents. In you know how oftentimes something like this could come between spouses. They initially were at odds, but then they came together and they still couldn't fight it. That was the power of this movie. Even if the
Right.
family was united against these Greys, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who didn't see it, they still couldn't deal with it because they were that bad. And yes, they wanted their son. And oh my gosh, it's a great movie. Very well put together. And yeah, it begs the question is that we hear a lot of stories from abductions, right? From people who are out there, the experiencers that we referred to earlier, that the Aero office are not acknowledging or giving any sort of help to deal with their predicament. We hear about these cases all the time where the abductions don't go well and people are affected badly for the rest of their lives. This movie portrays that exactly, and I thought it was an excellent example.
Now, you would think, okay, so we're going to go with the assumption that the government understands what these things are and why they are here. Now, you would assume that if they were benevolent, that the government would be willing and open to saying, hey, yeah, I mean, they're just some nice guys. They're not from here, but they're nice guys. Welcome them in and, all these things. But they don't actually seem to want to give any information on them, which leads me to feel like they could have, or I'm not going to say that they're all on the other side, the malevolent side, but that there may be a malevolent thing within this ET experience. So with that being said, we go from the nice grays in Close Encounter to the malevolent grays in Dark Skies. And then we'll go to the aliens from War of the Worlds, which were just so emotionless. So kind of give you something on that. Now, in the 2005 movie War of the Worlds, the aliens are portrayed as malevolent and destructive. The aliens arrive in massive machines and immediately begin attacking and killing humans with advanced weaponry and technology. Their objective is to harvest the Earth's resources, including human beings, for their own survival. Throughout the movie, the aliens are depicted as ruthless and merciless, with no regard for human life or suffering. Their actions and behavior are clearly malevolent, and they are portrayed as a powerful and unstoppable force. The movie explores themes of survival and humanity's ability to adapt and overcome adversity in the face of overwhelming danger. So, have you watched War of the Worlds? It was creepy to me. Just the way they came here and they immediately got down to business, like immediately, and just started destroying everything and just wiping out everyone. What did you think about the movie?
Dude, this is right up my alley. I have not only watched this version, but I've watched every other version. And as Magneticus is alluding to in the chat, the number one version for War of the Worlds is the original 1953 version with Gene Barry and Ann Robinson. I'm sorry. Tom Cruise did a great job, and the new one was awesome, and I love it too. I've watched Tom Cruise's version a dozen times. But the original one, which, the theme is the same, right? It all goes back to the H.G. Wells book, right? And the theme is the same. Back in the day, and this is kind of going toward the benevolent, malevolent theory we're dealing with here, or the opposites here that we're dealing with. It did seem like all of the alien encounters were malevolent, and that's why Hollywood kind of portrayed them as that. There were a few exceptions, right? There were a few older movies where the aliens came and tried to tell humanity to straighten out and fly right. But War of the Worlds was not. It was all about, we're coming for your planet, we're going to kill all of you and take it over. And, as a kid, we loved this stuff. And the original War of the Worlds movie, my brother scared the crap out of me with that when I was in kindergarten, and I was a mess until he finally left for college. and then I was able to deal with it after that, because he would scare me with it. But I loved the whole theme. I loved all the the aliens themselves, which of course in both movies the aliens were kind of not your traditional looking aliens, right?
Right.
And they were real creepy, real scary, and then they all end up succumbing to, you know, good old Earth and what Earth has in store for its biology. But that's the whole thing. But
And the thing
love
that,
it.
that kind of got me, and I was like, wow, that was a great spin, was how they had shown how they had brought the vehicles here years prior.
Right, they hit them in the ground,
And they
yeah.
were underground the entire time. And it's like, that's a brilliant way to invade. If you're going to invade, just, bury the machines and then zap yourself into there at a later time. And then it's an element of surprise. And that's exactly what they did. They attacked from below, which was so mind blowing. And it kind of makes you, when people say, it made me think, like when people say, oh, they're already here, or they've been here all this time. So if hypothetically art imitate or life imitated art, and they were to pre-plan something like that, I mean, would it be something that they had already underground? That got my mind going when I saw this movie.
Yeah, the other overwhelming theme too was we had no hope against fighting the machines, right? In any of the movies, the machines were heads and tails above anything we could throw at them. It was the creatures, and the classic line from the original 1953 movie, we now know we can't beat their machines, we've got to beat them. That was after they dropped a nuclear weapon on a whole nest of alien spaceships in that first movie, which was great because, you know, when you throw nukes at them and it still doesn't work, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, and then something so simple took care of which we won't spoil it, but it was great. It was a great twist, and it was it was anticlimactic, but it really would seem like one of the most realistic ways that something like that would resolve itself, truthfully.
It's not too far from the truth, you know.
Right.
If biology is biology, we all know, right? Heck, you and I can't fly to the Far East without getting some additional shots, right? Because they're worried about certain diseases you might get that are in the air. I had to travel for work once to Southeast Asia, and I had to get stuck like a pincushion with some additional vaccines because there's risk, because it's a part of the world that we're not frequenting. Our immune system isn't going to be resistant to something that may be everywhere there that the population is immune to. Here I am from the United States. You can get sick. So coming from another planet, hello, it's totally different. And therein lies, there's could be a problem.
Tom King's comment here is epic because I always say the same thing, and how quickly we saw society fold over toilet paper. Just something simple as that. We don't have any hope in anything bigger than that, man. I'm with you, Tom King.
Yeah.
So
if the aliens come, we're gonna need to buy your toilet paper. That's for sure.
We do have the last example of malevolent benevolent. So obviously we're on the malevolent end of this. And who is it? Who is it? Anyone other than Mr. Xenomorph, right? The guy, the star of the show, the man of the hour. The reason why this day was
the holiday
was for this guy right here, or lady, could be lady. In most cases, I believe it is a lady.
There was a queen in there, yeah.
So the Xenomorph.
Was nasty.
Now, the Xenomorph, let me go ahead and give you some info on Xenomorph here. The Xenomorphs in the Alien movies are portrayed as highly aggressive. And before I actually get into this is going to be a shocker. By the time at the end of what I'm going to read you here, we're going to think about this. But the Xenomorphs in the Alien movies are portrayed as highly aggressive and violent, with the primary goal of killing and reproducing. The Xenomorphs are really not considered to be benevolent or malevolent, as essentially they are instinct-driven creatures with no moral or ethical considerations. In the Alien movies, the xenomorphs are depicted as a deadly threat to the human characters, and their actions often portrayed as malevolent towards humans. However, it's important to note that the xenomorphs are not motivated by a desire to harm humans specifically, but rather by their instinctual drive to survive and reproduce. So while their actions may be considered malevolent towards humans, this is simply a byproduct of their biological nature rather than a deliberate intent to do harm. Think about that. Think about it, because they take neither side. They take neither side. They're neither nor considered nor malevolent or benevolent because they're following the instinct to survive in nature. So at the end of the day, the beings that we end up seeing or meeting or contacting, are they here? Would they be coming here with the same purpose, where we cannot put our moral vision on them and have them choose a side of either malevolent or benevolent? They're just like, hey, I'm surviving. I'm here to survive. I'm here to reproduce. I'm here to do all the things that nature outlined, and don't take it personal. What do you think about that?
I think what you just brought up is brilliant, because it's like the third aspect, right? It lies between benevolent and malevolent, and I've never thought of this before. But if you look at the movies and you look at the way this all went down, the creatures didn't come to Earth. We found them. We disturbed them. I believe in the first movie, that ship from the LV-426 was on Jupiter, or moon of Jupiter or something like that, right? That's where they found them. And we found them, and then their instinctive behavior then came to life. And of course, yeah, they would have killed not only humanity, they would have killed any creature that stood in their way. So we weren't special by any means. So your point is very valid, Rob, and I like that. There could be a creature out there that is less intentional, right? It's not flying in spaceships to come to Earth to save us from ourselves or to invade, like the two examples we've already gone through. These may be creatures who are out there somewhere that we come across by accident, that, yeah, they're more just instinct driven, and they're going to wipe out anything that gets in their way. And very valid point. I think that's a definite possibility as humanity ventures out into space, and who knows what we're going to run into.
So I guess a couple questions. Have we allowed film to paint our views of the ET's looks and intentions overall?
That's a very good question.
I mean, they like to say that.
I think it's unavoidable. You can't say we weren't influenced by it, right? I mean, we may have heard about the stories and the cases in ufology, but without Hollywood portraying it in a dramatic fashion and on the big screen that we all know and love, I'm not sure we would all feel the way we do right now, right? We may not put as much meaning behind it if we didn't have Hollywood portraying it the way that they do. So yeah, I think I'm influenced by it. I'm not saying that I think aliens are going to look a particular way based upon what you see in Hollywood, but I've gone back and forth just in terms of whether I feel they're benevolent or malevolent. Now I think they could be both, right? Because there could be some species that are one way and some that are another, and yet a third species who behaves like the xenomorph. So you're right. We're kind of influencing ourselves here. Is that indirect? Is that unintentional? Or is there a meaning behind that, as some people say?
And see, so I feel like it's life imitating art, imitating life.
Mm-hmm.
Like what happened, what came first, chicken or the egg? So I think they came first. Our encounters with them came second. And then the films came third. so I feel like the art imitated life in that situation. I mean, I think when they speak on that and they say, "Oh, it's just because of pop culture is the reason why you think that way," it just goes back too far for before film, before any of that was even a thing. We look at the petroglyphs and the hieroglyphs, and we see these things portrayed in thousands of years back. So, and they're pretty, as far as visually, they're portrayed the same way. And I have to go with the experiencers on what those interactions were like. When you think of like a Betty and Barney Hill, who say they encounter these things and then speak about their experiences. So yeah, I mean, that's the way I feel about that. Now the second question is, let's see. Oh no, this is more just a statement actually. Pretty much what I like, how I'd like to end that is essentially saying that the ability for Hollywood to control our perception of the extraterrestrial agenda and intent through pop culture will end once the government opens up about why they're really hearing what they want. So as far as like continuing to say, oh, aliens are like this, or oh, they're here for that, that will end once the government comes out and tells us exactly what they're here for and what's going on. What do you think about that?
If that ever happens, right?
And we know it won't. We just have to
Mhm.
play it. We have to play along with that and hope that one day the government hears a podcast or a show like this and says, "Oh, you know what? Today's the day. Today's the day we're gonna join the rest of humanity." But we know that won't happen, obviously.
I'll be honest with you, Rob. The deeper we dig into this, and even in recent times, in recent months and years, where we've been getting a little deeper into it through your channel and through all the efforts that all of us do together in the community, I wouldn't be surprised if the rate is a lot. Me give it credit for it. In other words, there's no one answer. It's why they're here and what they're doing and what their purpose. That's my take, and it could be quite shocking. It's probably hard. It would be hard for people in society at large to understand. So I'll close that out.
Yeah. And so what I wanted to do, I mean, because we obviously focused on film and TV, and that's been the focus of the whole thing. But I wanted to do, and what we'll use our Once Upon a Time in Ufology today is we'll touch. Actually, let's get into it real quick. Once Upon a Time in Ufology. And wanted to cover a benevolent and malevolent example of a real life situation. And one of those would have been the Hopkinsville incident, which you could consider malevolent or benevolent, depending on how it went. But just a brief thing about Hopkinsville is the Hopkinsville incident, also known as the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, was a reported UFO sighting and alien encounter that occurred in 1955 in Kentucky. According to eyewitnesses' accounts, a group of small silver luminous beings with large heads and big eyes approached the farmhouse and engaged in a frightening encounter with the occupants. Now, as far as this goes, there is no conclusive evidence to suggest whether the incident was malevolent or not, because some people believe that the beings were friendly and curious. I guess if you see in the image in the far right, they had their hands in the air, and so they figured maybe this was a gesture of, hey, I come in peace. Look, I'm not armed. But others argue that they were actually hostile and intended to harm the humans because they kept approaching the house and actually grabbed one of the gentlemen when he stepped outside during the whole ordeal. So that would be a real life situation, if allegedly, where these beings would have demonstrated an act of not being not so kind. What do you know about this one here?
We went through this on one of your previous shows, Rob. It was a great story, and I'll be honest. I think here humanity was a bit more malevolent than the aliens were, since we were the one blasting away. I think we more kind of shot first and asked
Shoot
questions
first.
later,
That's what we did.
but it's unclear as to what the intent of the aliens were. Of course, it was very creepy, and they were coming in and poking around. Were they trying to abduct? What was going on? Who
Yeah,
knows?
I mean, hands up. I'm
Hands up too. That's even more strange, right? Did they know? They knew what that meant, and of course, the,
it,
the Kelly family chose to ignore that and gave them
well,
both barrels, literally and figuratively.
they were down in Kentucky. So, that's one of those states where they shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when
So
strange things are going on inside your house with your whole family inside.
exactly,
You're going to
exactly.
defend to the death.
Now the way that they surrounded the residents kind of makes you feel like that was a more of a hostile thing
Yeah.
going on. But
Why would they do that? What was the
why would
purpose?
they?
Right.
They were according to the story, they were peeking through windows and doing all kind of weird stuff. So, if to the ETs out there, that's not the way you want to come up on one of our. That's not how you do contact. You don't
No.
want to come up to our house and look through our windows. The hands up was a good start. I mean, because that is a gesture that we use universally for, hey, I come in peace. So that works. But everything else about that, yeah. So
Too many guns per capita in the United States. Don't do that here.
Exactly. So now on the flip side to that, one of the cases which we also covered, which is just another example of ETs being here for benevolent purposes, would be the Ariel School. So that's, to me, that's like one of the perfect incidents where it was all good. I mean, they came, they landed, they saw, they communicated, and they left, according to this, a great message. So as far as this goes, the Ariel School incident was a reported UFO sighting and alien encounter that occurred in 1994 in Zimbabwe. During the incident, a group of school children reported seeing a UFO and several small beings with large eyes and strange clothing. The children claimed that the beings communicated with them telepathically and expressed concern for the Earth's environment. The incident is generally considered to be a benevolent encounter, as the beings reportedly did not harm the children, and they actually expressed a positive message about protecting the environment. So, and that's how you would like to see them. This kind of lines up almost with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, if we were going to line it up with one of the film examples, and then maybe Hopkinsville is more War of the Worlds, or as far as that goes. But guess we have real life examples of both, and as far as the communication goes, and the actual communication from the being to us, Ariel School, I would have to lean towards, for sure, there are beings that visit here that have our best interests at heart. So we can almost say that with certainty based on their experience at Ariel School. What do you think about that?
Totally agree. That was a classic case where, as you highlighted all the important aspects, they came, they landed, they came out, they communicated. And what was communicated was a very vivid message that had to do with us doing the right thing for the greater good of humanity and for planet Earth, which is the mission we would all love for the ETs to be on that we encounter. And I think it was crystal clear in this case. In fact, I really give credence to this case. You can't get all of these. I don't know how many it was. I'm not sure if it was 100 kids. I think it was less. It was like 40 to 60 or something like that. I think the 100 case was in the one in Australia. How could they have made this up? And the interviews that you saw for this case, especially the ones conducted by the Harvard psychologist John Mack, these kids were not making this up. They were dead serious. And in fact, they were so genuine in their interview responses. It was just, to me, totally convincing that something actually did happen the way that they claimed it did. And yes, that's good, because if it happened and clearly the message was benevolent, so we know that at least some of the aliens that we may encounter are on that type of a mission. So I guess that's good news.
Definitely. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get into our last segment here, which is going to be Science Fiction to Science Fact Movie Edition. And what do we have? What do you think we have, Mateo? What do you,
Oh,
if
let
you
me
had
guess.
to guess?
It's Alien
Well,
Day. So
Oh, we have
what
two. I'm
else
sorry.
do I have?
We have two today.
Oh, okay.
We have a benevolent movie,
Oh, okay.
which would be E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And so definitely go and watch that for all the families out there. Anyone who hasn't seen this, or anyone who has seen it, we'll go back and watch it again. This is one of those movies on the benevolent side that you would just really hope is why they're here, and hope that we get this type of energy from these things that are visiting us. And on the other side of that, I think you had it right. So the malevolent pick would be, of course, what this is all about, Alien. What more can you say? I mean, I'll read you a little something about Alien here. So in Ridley Scott's 1979 movie Alien, a commercial spaceship named Nostromo is on its way back to Earth when the crew receives a distress signal from a nearby planet. After landing on the planet, they discover a crashed alien spacecraft and a strange life form that attaches itself to one of the crew members, leading to a terrifying chain of events as the aliens begin to hunt and kill the crew one by one. As the crew fights for their survival, they soon realize that the alien is not the only danger they face. They must find a way to defeat the creature before it's too late. And I just remember how
We lost you, Rob. I don't know if we're still broadcasting here. Maybe we are. Yeah, that movie was. Oh, here you are. You're back.
yeah, it dropped me out for some reason. Weird. And Magneticus says Critters. I was going to put Critters in there. I kind of looked at Critters to kind of see what, but yeah, it didn't make the cut. But Critters is a great movie. I do remember watching that.
But
They
it's
had a
Alien
few-
Day. We got to honor.
I guess they
Alien
were
on Alien
considered
Day.
aliens, though. I think they were considered aliens.
Oh,
I think
Critters.
they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. You recall that movie? The things that I
yeah.
think they were underground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah. So with that being said, so that's science fiction to science fact. The movie Alien Part 1 actually is the one that we're recommending today. They had so many after that. If I had to pick in the series, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, I don't really know when they got into the AVP, Alien vs Predator. I was like, it's a little too much. They're crossing the franchises. I don't like when they do that. But yeah,
That was a great movie. Sigourney Weaver, a huge fan. It was just Ripley. She was the bomb, and what a great
and
fight!
she was tough. Oh,
What a great fight for
kicking
your
ass.
life, right? Oh yeah, no, there was the scenes in that movie were just on. I was on the edge of my seat. I think I saw that on the big screen when it first came out.
Which
I
one?
believe
Part
Alien.
1 or
The
okay.
first one back
Yeah.
in the early, I don't know, 79, you said 80.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I would have gone to see that. I was a geek. I would have gone to see that for sure. And I think I did see it on the big screen. And oh yeah, that movie, when that first came out, dude, that was disturbing. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody was expecting that, because the violence of the alien, the xenomorph, was like nothing to be. No, there was no precedent. After having had E.T. and Close Encounters and all the friendly aliens, and then have this alien come at you the way it did, yeah, the world was taken aback by that.
Yeah, now if you were to go watch E.T. and then turn around and watch Alien, like the two movies we recommended today, Oh, opposite sides of the spectrum for
Yeah,
sure.
you might have to do that on 2 separate days.
Exactly. One when the kids are there, maybe one when they're already asleep. But
Yep.
yeah. So okay, with that, man, let's go ahead close out of science fiction, science fact, and get to our stuff here, man. Get to the outro music, because this is we're doing this for humanity, like we always say. Positive progression in humanity. We wanted to have fun today. It was Alien Day. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I wanted to show it some love, and then I kind of wanted to expand it to the actual aliens that we have visiting us currently. So do you have anything you want to look at or say to the people, Mattel?
Nothing in particular. Just want to say thanks for everybody coming out to join us. Big ups to Magneticus, Tom King, Anonymous Rex, Mr. Tim, the gang, all in here supporting the cause and participating. I love it, and it was a lot of fun. And we got more in store. Just a little teaser here. Tom King and I and Tim are been working on our equipment, and Tom King has some video that he captured last weekend of yet more anomalous phenomenon flying over his house.
Can't wait to see it.
We're in the middle of processing all of that, but we are working hard. Cosmic Watch played a role in this
nice.
sighting. It's great stuff. So no, keep the faith, people, in spite of what we may have learned at the beginning of the show about Arrow and maybe how they're not really representing the people and the cause that we need them to be. We're going to do it on our own. We will get that irrefutable evidence, and we will make it available to everybody so we can say, look, here it is, proof positive. We're not alone. Let's move on to the next questions, like why are they here? What do they want, etc. But no.
And once again, it's all about humanity. So I just applaud the work that you guys are doing there. And like I say, if Tom King, if it's something in the sky, Tom King's gonna catch it. And I'm always I always know that that's going to be the case. Now, Magneticus says he wish he had things working. So, I don't know, maybe that's something you guys could get with each other offline. Let's see. I wonder if your detector would pick up on my device running. You have Magneticus contact info, right, Mattel?
Yeah, I could reach out.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll definitely have that happen. And then outside of that, I want to thank everybody for coming today. It's been a pleasure. Also, we have some great stuff coming up. Actually, next show, thinking about dabbling into the whole crop circle thing and pictographs and how this ties into humanity and what's really the purpose of all this. Some people say hoax, some people say contact. I don't know. We'll be discussing that though coming up soon. So make sure you guys come by and check out the show, or if you're on Team Replay, make sure you come by and drop us a comment. Let us know what you like to see in upcoming shows. We do it for you guys. But on that note,
I have some breaking news before we close out.
Let's do it. What you got?
Panthers win in overtime, 4-3. We live to fight another day. So the series is now 3-2. They come back home and play Friday night here in South.
Well, congratulations to your Panthers.
Yeah, man, we live to fight another day. We were on the ropes. We had to win tonight. We got to win it out if we're going to advance. But
we'll be talking that again. And actually, so that's hockey. And actually, right now, I want to say my team, the Sacramento Kings, we're going up against those Golden State Warriors in my hometown of Sacramento.
Playoffs. Yeah,
so let's get it going. Let's go, Sacramento. Hey, let's go.
Yeah, man.
So, okay, with that
Miami
being said,
Heat, too. The Heat are in there, too.
and the Miami Heat. Yeah, if we see that'd be epic if we saw each other.
That would be good.
Playoffs,
that could happen. That could
happen. Let's hope for it.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, everybody, thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing your time with us. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.